Ever wondered why your friend can't stop yelling at the TV while you barely glance? Well, millions of people are screaming, painting their faces, and losing their minds because 11 strangers just lost a game. There's a whole group of people who couldn't care less. And neuroscience says there's a reason for this. Their brains might actually be wired differently. Stick around, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see the sports-obsessed people in your life. Not caring about sports doesn't make you boring. It doesn't mean you lack passion. It just means your brain operates differently. While 60% of Americans follow sports religiously, there's a hidden world of people whose brains react in ways that make sports meh. So why do so many people care so much? Humans are tribal creatures. For thousands of years, being part of a group literally meant survival. Your tribe protected you, hunted with you, kept you alive. Sports? They're basically modern tribes, but with better merchandise. When fans watch their team, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that makes you love your family. Wild, right? Their brain actually convinces them that millionaire athletes are part of their clan. Your team wins, you scream into a pillow. Non-fans just scroll TikTok. Your brain's reward system reacts like winning the lottery, but only for your own passions, not someone else's game. But people who don't obsess over sports often have lower tribal instincts. Their identity isn't tied to being part of a bigger group. They might think, I don't need to belong to something bigger to feel complete. Research backs this up. A 2019 study found that people with low sports interest were far less likely to think in terms of us versus them. Think about your own friends. Who's screaming at the TV and who barely glances? Tribal instincts shape how we bond, compete, and even celebrate. But what about those who don't feel that pull at all? Here's where it gets really interesting. Sports fans get tiny dopamine hits every single play, every possession, the same rush you feel opening a present. Studies show that watching their team activates the same brain reward centers as gambling. The unpredictability keeps the dopamine flowing, intermittent reinforcement, the same thing that makes slot machines addictive. Imagine your team loses a game and your brain reacts like you just lost at a casino without spending a dime. Meanwhile, non-sports fans' dopamine systems aren't triggered by vicarious competition. Some research even suggests it's in your DNA. Variations in dopamine receptor genes might predict how much someone actually cares about spectator sports. Parasocial investment? That's like loving a character in a TV show more than your neighbor. And some people genuinely get more emotional reward finishing a novel, painting, coding, or even mastering a tricky recipe than from a championship game. Sports fans also experience something called basking in reflected glory. When their team wins, they say, "We won." When their team loses, they lost. Non-sports fans? They keep their self-esteem steady. They don't need external victories to feel successful. Their sense of identity is more consistent, less dependent on things completely outside their control. And here's a fun twist. Sports fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. They care deeply about other people's struggles, even strangers wearing a jersey. Non-sports fans, they allocate their empathy differently toward art, music, relationships, or personal projects. Imagine finishing a novel, painting something beautiful, helping a friend, or nailing a challenging project. Same emotional high, just not over a ball game. Sometimes not caring about sports is a defense mechanism. Maybe you were excluded in gym class, or maybe sports culture never made sense. Some people push back against the aggressive competitiveness tied to fandom. And yes, some of you just think grown adults screaming at TVs over a ball is exhausting. Non-fans just sip coffee, and that's perfectly fine. At the core, it's about how we find meaning. Sports fans live for narrative, the underdog story, the comeback, the rivalry. Non-sports fans often find that randomness meaningless. Why invest emotionally in something you can't control, performed by people you don't know? Neither approach is wrong, it's just two ways of fulfilling the human craving for story and connection. One group finds epic narrative in a championship run, the other in a novel, a relationship, a creative project, or a scientific discovery. Both approaches can lead to deep absorption, or what psychologists call flow states. Reading a novel, painting, coding, or solving a puzzle can give the same feeling as following your favorite team. But which one actually makes you happier? Here's the quietly radical part.
People who don't obsess over sports often feel more present in their own lives. They're not spending 3 hours every Sunday living someone else's struggle. They're fully engaged in their own. Your brain's reward system, tribal instincts, and empathy allocation all calibrated differently, and that's perfectly okay. So, next time someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you genuinely couldn't care less, remember, you're not missing out. You're just living your own game, one that might actually give you an edge in life, love, creativity, and happiness. Click one of these videos to discover why this approach could make you smarter, more fulfilled, and maybe even happier than the friend who lives for game day.